Many Western perspectives view Eastern thought as a vast monolith of mysticism, vague spiritual feelings, rather than a rigid grid of precise philosophical engineering. The historical reality centers on the Shad Darshana, or the Six Paths, a highly systematic grouping of classical Indian philosophies. This system functions through 6 specialized, interlocking theoretical modules. As this structural chart demonstrates, the system establishes clear boundaries between domains. It divides the study of logic and the material world from the modules dedicated to metaphysics and liberation. These separate modules share a single, unified objective: accurately decoding reality to permanently eradicate human suffering. To understand this framework, we must examine how these 6 schools operate as an end-to-end cognitive pipeline. The schools are structured as an ascending path of inquiry, where each stage builds the necessary foundation for the next. This diagram outlines the chronological stack. The process begins at the base with Mimamsa, defining the mechanics of action, before progressing into the logic of Nyaya and Vaisheshika. Once verified, the pipeline feeds into the metaphysical realms of Sankhya and Vedanta. This raises a central question for modern observers. How does a logical mapping of reality trigger spiritual salvation? In this system, liberation is treated as a deterministic, mechanical outcome of correct perception. Solving the paradox of how knowledge creates freedom requires looking closely at the engine powering the pipeline, the logic of Nyaya. Without a flawless system to define how we know what we know, the higher pursuit of spiritual liberation lacks a valid logical pathway. Nyaya Darshan, founded by sage Gautama, provides the foundational epistemology for the entire pipeline. Analyzing the soul is impossible without a verified method for processing data. The original Hindi text establishes 4 strict criteria for any cognition to be considered valid. This sequence begins with pramata, the knower, and pramana, the specific means of knowledge. These inputs identify the prameya, the object of analysis, resulting in pramiti, verified true knowledge. Nyaya accepts only 4 specific pramanas as valid means of knowledge: perception, inference, comparison, and verbal testimony. This creates a mechanical deduction. When the pramanas function perfectly, they produce true knowledge, which inherently displaces false knowledge. Primary commentaries trace this exact causal chain. Destroying mithya jnana, or false knowledge, halts the development of human flaws and attachments. The text follows this logic to its conclusion. When attachment ends, flawed action ceases, stopping the cycle of rebirth and yielding apavarga, liberation. In this framework, logic serves as the literal mechanism that turns off the engine of human suffering. Once Nyaya establishes how to process information, that logic is applied to Sankhya Darshan to categorize what exists. Sankhya serves as the theoretical blueprint, dividing the universe into a strict binary. This panel illustrates the fundamental duality, the separation of Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti represents all physical matter, nature, and the mechanical mind, visualized here as a swirling vortex. Purusha is the eternal, witnessing self, pure consciousness, completely distinct from the material swirl. Foundational Sankhya is near Ishwar. It maps the universe as a mechanical reality without relying on a concept of God. While Sankhya provides the theoretical map of the universe, the practitioner still needs a vehicle to navigate it. This necessitates a re-examination of Yoga Darshan, which is often reduced to a physical wellness routine. The sources define a different relationship. If Sankhya provides the theoretical scripture, yoga serves as its applied laboratory. Realizing the split between matter and self requires more than reading texts. It requires a deliberate engineering of the mind. Yoga accomplishes this monumental task through chitta vritti, which is the rigorous, systematic control and ultimate suppression of all mental fluctuations. Halting this cognitive noise allows the Purusha to finally recognize its separation from the material world. To maintain this extreme level of mental focus, yoga introduced a focal point for the practitioner. Yoga established an independent identity as Seshwar Sankhya, Sankhya with God, by accepting a supreme being purely as a focal point for devotion and concentration. Physical postures serve as preparation for the core operation of yoga, the systematic cognitive execution of Sankhya's metaphysical blueprint. Viewing the entire pipeline in unison reveals how each school supports the others. This synthesis returns to the foundational principle of Mimamsa, the school centered on action. The rule is stated clearly in the circular summary. Knowledge without action is mere mental wealth. The entire machine relies on this integration. Nyaya verifies the logic, Sankhya provides the schematic of reality, and Yoga performs the practical execution. Centuries of fierce, peer-reviewed debate hardened these classical texts into a robust, interconnected system. The ultimate genius of the Shaddarshana lies in its demand that theoretical logic and practical execution remain inseparable on the path to human freedom.